Hey guys, CasedCrusader here, and I'm doing the first of a new series of videos where I'm going to do top 10s or reviews of different things. So I decided to start first with, well, I was going to originally do it as the top 10 Kingdom Hearts games of all time, but there really aren't 10. So how this format is going to work is I'm going to rank all of the Kingdom Hearts games in order of my favorite, but I'm only doing it with the original versions, at least how they were first released in America, because that's all I have. I can't go by the Japanese things because I haven't played them. So yeah, that's what I'm basing off of. I'm not doing it, the HD remakes and remasters, all that, they don't count. I'm going by the original way to playing them, which is a little different from my first entry. And since they're not 10 for the top 10, number 7 is Kingdom Hearts Recoded. Now, this started as a mobile game in Japan and was tweaked slightly but eventually released as a game on the DS. Now, I'll start by saying I actually like all of the games on this list. I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan, and yeah, I enjoy all of the games, but the weakest one for me is this one, is Kingdom Hearts Recoded, simply because it is a literal retread of all of the worlds from before, which I'll get into later with some of the other ones, why that may or may not be frustrating. But with this one, it was kind of jarring, because at times at times they would add in a really random element for one use. It was very bizarre. Like, in this world, you'd have to do a 2D side-scroller, an obstacle course. It was just all sorts of different things. Overall, yeah, I liked it. It wasn't nearly as strong as the others because it was piggybacking off of the other ones and not really offering much in story or anything like that. Number 6, 358.5 days. 358/2 days. 358.5 days. 358 days over 2. That is the correct way of saying it. That is the official way of saying it, which you probably wouldn't know by looking at it, because it's so, yeah, it's hard to get that from just hearing that. But that's how it is. That's the official name. This game may be number 6 on the list, but I actually thought it was very, very good. It introduced multiplayer for the first time to Kingdom Hearts, which is great. It was the first one on the DS in any capacity, and it was very different in how it was set up. It was very mission based, so you could go back at any point in time and replay little chunks of the game whenever you wanted, which was nice. And then you could also redo them. Once you beat the game, you could redo them as different organization members and Mickey and other characters, which added a whole lot of replayability, which was really fun. And you could also do that with a friend, so it had added a nice co-op element, which we'd never seen before in a Kingdom Hearts game, which was really great. And I really liked the story, actually. It kind of jumps around in time and gives you a little bit of extra story on Roxas and Axel and their bromance, and Xion, the character of Xion, which was introduced with this game. And yeah, I thought the story was interesting, and the gameplay was, they had enough variety in the missions, and everything was quick, short, and so no mission would ever take you very long, and so I liked that change up of gameplay, and I think it's a lot better than people give it credit for. I say as I have it on number 6 on my list, but it is a great game. Number 5, Dream Drop Distance. This one was also very fun. I remember when I got my 3DS, this was the first game that I got for it, and I just knew I had to have it. One of several of the handheld Kingdom Hearts games I basically got that handheld console or handheld system just to play the Kingdom Hearts game that I knew was coming for it. This one was interesting and kind of bizarre because there was a almost Pokemon element to it, and mixed with Nintendogs, because you had these little pets that would, or companions that would follow you around, and they would fight with you, but also you had to like pet them and stuff. I don't know. It was weird. But I liked the fact that they were helping you out during the game, but their little ultimate ability that you could use on them was a little confusing, and little things you'd have to use on the touchscreen with them, like shoot the barrel over here. A lot of them didn't really make any sense, so it was a little janky with that. But overall, it was an interesting addition to the game. The other part that was kind of weird, it was good and bad, was the parallel world system, where you would play as Sora for a little bit, and then you get thrown over to Riku's side, and vice versa. But the frustrating part was whenever you would be in the middle of a boss battle and you would run out of time. Now, it was kind of cool to have a time limit on the boss, and it would make you more aggressive. But at the same time, if you got kicked to the other world, when you went back to the world that you were on, you would have to restart the boss battle, which that I found kind of infuriating. Especially, I remember a few times playing the game where I would be right at the end and I just needed a few more seconds and it would kick me over to the other side. Now, there were things you could do to reduce the time limit, which I always felt like I was on a time limit the whole game, because you only have so much time before it would throw you to the other world. And I like the added pressure that the game would do, but yeah, it just sometimes felt a little bit too abrupt. And like right in the middle of doing something, you'd have to switch to the other, and you'd have to switch gears. But I did like the parallel world and a story aspect. So things in one story would affect the others, and you would see different parts and different paths for Sora's world and Riku's world. And I did also like the fact that they mostly used new worlds. They had several new worlds in it. Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I like that they had the Tron sequel in the game, but it was jarring to see these realistic people like Jeff Bridges walking next to Sora and Riku. It was kind of similar to the thing in Pirates of the Caribbean or Port Royal in Kingdom Hearts 2. It was a little weird, but not a big thing, just kind of funny. But overall, it was very good. It was a really fun game. It also introduced the slide system, or whatever they called it, which makes you just go all over the map, which was really fun. And they are implementing that into Kingdom Hearts 3, which is really cool. So I did like that, and it was really fun. They introduced a lot of new gameplay mechanics, and I did like the companion thing for the most part. So yeah, overall, really solid game. Number 4. Chain of Memories. Now, this game gets a little more flack than I feel like it should. I remember when I first played it, shortly after it came out, I actually had to borrow it from my neighbor to play it. But I kind of glossed over, I feel like I must have glossed over the tutorial on how the card-based battle system works, because I didn't really get it at first, and it made the game pretty difficult in a lot of spots. I don't know how I got through some parts, honestly. But once you figure out the system and how it works, it has a hidden layer of depth to the game. Once I got the hang of it, I remember just loving the battle system, actually. And it allowed for a lot of customization and strategy, and you'd have to change it up a little bit. And I like, in real life and in games, customizing card decks, and so once I got into that realm of the game, it was very fun, and and very involved, and I was always trying to get those Moogle points. But yeah, it was very different from the Kingdom Hearts game that came before it, which is only the first one. So this entirely new step in a completely different direction was very interesting for me, and it's just one of those things where once you get it and you've got it, you can take off with the rest of the game. And it also introduced us to Organization 13, which I love. Organization 13 is a really interesting group, and you get to see some of the members of the group that you don't really get to see anywhere else. They are a little more fleshed out in this game, and you don't really get to see them in Kingdom Hearts 2. So you essentially half of it, really, you're getting to see of Organization 13. And I also really loved the fact that this was the first time you got to play as another character. You get to play as Riku in a sort of opposite world where Sora is going up the levels in the castle and poor Riku is going in the basement. He's going down the levels below. But you also get to play as the dark form of Riku, where you can get revenge on the insane battle with Riku the second time in Kingdom Hearts 1. So I felt a little bit... I got my revenge in being able to use that in the Riku side of Chain of Memories. And it's also more fast-paced, so it's a different feel, really, from the Sora part of it, which was nice. They didn't just copy it over, they changed a few things to keep the flow better. The Riku one is very fast-paced, whereas the Sora one is more strategic and you have to take your time. So a lot of different gameplay elements that were very interesting, and yeah, with all the hidden layers of everything, introducing Organization 13, all of that, Chain of Memories is a lot better game than people give it credit for. Number 3, Birth by Sleep. Now this game I loved. It was the reason I bought a PSP, so I could play this game. And I remember getting it when it came out, and yeah, I remember beating this game in 3 to 5 days, 3, 5, 8 days over 2, something like that, numbers. And I played this game everywhere I went. Any possible second I could, I was playing that game until I finished it. I remember starting with Ventus, which is the Roxas split down the middle, two-faced sort of costumey guy. He played mostly like Roxas and Sora did previously. So he was the most comfortable one to play with. I went through his playthrough first. And that just added a lot of different variety to the game with the 3 different characters, because Ventus is more like Sora and Roxas. And with Aqua, she was more magic-based, whereas Terra was slower, more of a tank, more brute force, close combat in your face sort of thing. So it was very 3 distinct gameplay styles that it would force you to do. So that added a lot of different... It just added variety to the game in a very interesting way. I also thought it was smart that in being set 10 years before the original Kingdom Hearts, that they used old Disney movies as the different worlds, and they were all brand new worlds. Snow White and some of the other ones, it showed that they were doing classic Disney movies in an earlier game of the timeline, which I thought was really clever. Overall, tough game, but really fun, and I played the crap out of it. Number 2. Now, these final 2 are very, very close to each other. It was really tough to make a decision between the 2, but I have to give the number 2 spot to Kingdom Hearts 2. But I have to give the number 2 spot to Kingdom Hearts 2. Now, I got this game when it came out, and I remember they had a special strategy guide that had a different cover based on the different drive forms that Sora uses in the game. And I was very fortunate enough to get the final form cover, which was really awesome. It also came with Jiminy's Journal, so many cool things that came with the game. And it was astounding. They fixed a lot of the issues with the first one. They really listened to that. They allowed you to skip scenes. They did the reaction command instead of having to go up, which would send you to the bottom to do actions or examine things or open chests, things like that. And they just really nailed that. And the story is great. I didn't actually mind the Roxas thing at the beginning. I know everyone, including myself, was chomping at the bits to get to Sora, but the Roxas thing was nice, and I actually do like Roxas as a character. It definitely went on longer than it should have, but you know, it was what it was, and it got you really pumped for the rest of the game, which was nice. The one thing that I didn't like that the first one, something I thought the first one did better was Olympus Coliseum, or at least the tournaments and everything, because the orbs thing in the second one just was very frustrating, trying to get, you know, the platinum level, or just trying to get the amount I needed to complete it in Jiminy's Journal, which I did actually complete at one point. It took a long time, and there were certain things that were really frustrating, but yeah, I did it. I did that on PS2. I wish I had done that and on the PS3 or whenever trophies were involved, because geez Louise, that's would take a lot to get through again. Some of the stuff I'm like, I don't know if I could do that a second time. But it did. Kingdom Hearts 2 does offer a lot of improvements over the first one as far as gameplay goes. Like, they really paid attention to what could be fixed for the second one, and the result was pretty incredible. Okay, number one. Obviously, Kingdom Hearts, the first game. What a game. I remember when I was a kid, I saw a commercial for it, saw Disney and these spiky-haired kids, and I was like, I need this. So I got the first one for Christmas. I got a PS2 and the first game. And that game is one of the most influential games to me as a gamer. It just blew my tiny little mind when I first got it, which was shortly after it came out. And just it started the whole series, which is something that should not have worked. Disney with Final Fantasy, like, who thought of this? I mean, I know thought of it. Tetsuya Nomura finished the game, finished Kingdom Hearts 3. But there are just so many things. The battle system is phenomenal. There are so many great things about it. The only issues that were frustrating in the PS2 version were things that they fixed in Kingdom Hearts 2, and I've already mentioned a little bit. You couldn't skip cutscenes, which made me infuriated with the extremely long cutscene before the Riku battle for the second time, which, as frustrating as that was, is an iconic fight for me. As much as I hated it, as much as I loathed it, I also loved it at the same time. It was a love-hate relationship with that battle. But there were so many things that set up with this one. It set up all the characters and just the worlds, plural. I actually like the gummy system in this one better than the second one. That was the other thing, was like a rail shooter. I didn't like it as much as the gummy ships, which, if I'm being honest, is the weakest part of all the Kingdom Hearts games. I appreciate it, but don't really need it. But minor quips aside, I mean, the first game, it had the best worlds, it had some of the best elements of everything combined together, and it's not only is it an important game for me, But yeah, I mean, it just brings up so much imagination. The final battle, I mean, they like to just really draw out that. I guess it's kind of a tie between the Ansem and the Xemnas battles as far as which one is better. I mean, they're both long and have so many different forms and are out of this world insane. But yeah, overall, it's just the first one is just so solid, and I've beaten it more than almost any other game that I've ever played. It's just the replayability, just going through the story again was just, it's just so easy to do. And going back to the Coliseum thing, like, that was so much better in the first one. Like, once you were able to eventually work your way, bust your butt to be able to fight anyone you wanted, and the whole Hades, like, everything in that game, minus the little quibbles that it had, I mean, it holds up. And while this ranking is for the PS2 version, something I do have to note the remasters for is fixing the little things, the camera angles, skipping scenes, and the reactions, and so you didn't have to like hit up on the D-pad to go to the bottom to open a chest or do whatever you needed to do. Besides those little fixes, I mean, you can't go wrong with the first one. And the first and second game are so tied for me. Like, they're so close to each other, but I mean, simply over the fact that I've played the first one so many times through, I've got to give the #1 spot to Kingdom Hearts 1. With that being said, I'd like to announce what Kingdom Hearts game I'll be playing, and Trick Answer is actually none of the ones on that list, technically, because I will be starting with Chain of Memories, Chain of Memories. They first released it on PS2, but I have it on the PlayStation 3 collection. I'll probably get it for PS4. But I've never played the 3D version, only the Game Boy Advance version, and so that is what I'll be playing first. That's my list. There you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. It's a tough list, and the lists that I'm going to do are all going to be tough, but I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did thinking about it and making it. So feel free to leave any sort of comments on what you think, what you agree with, what you disagree with. Other than that, I am CasedCrusader, and I will see you guys next time.